Hey, I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex, and welcome to my monthly video on the best games coming to retail. This is January 2023. Happy New Year, everybody! Every month, I cover about 25 games that are coming to retail. You know, some of these had crowdfunding campaigns at some point and are now having their retail release, and some of them are coming straight to retail. Every month, there's always more than 25 games, but I try to limit it to just make it a digestible video. If you want to know about some of the other ones that are coming to retail, some of the additional ones that I didn't include in this video, then you're welcome to check out my Patreon, patreon.com/GrantsGameRex. How do I choose the 25 or so board games that I'm including in this video? Well, one, because they seem cool. I'm excited about them and I like the way they look and the way they describe and that sort of stuff. And then two, it's really important to me to have a lot of different types of games in this video. I want everybody to walk away with something they're excited about. I want there to be something for everybody in this video, you know? So I want to include heavy Euros, I want to include party games, I want to include family games you can play with your kids. All sorts of types of games are in this video. So let's get into it. These are the best games coming to retail in January 2023. 25th Century Games is releasing Gasha to retail this month. This is a family weight game that plays pretty quickly. They say it plays as young as 7 years old and plays in 20 minutes. So Gasha, I didn't know this before, but are those Japanese like vending machines, coin machines, where you can put in coins and get some rewards and that sort of stuff. Get some fun stuff. So in this game, it is a set collection game at its core. You can either take two cards, you can grab two cards, or you can turn in the cards 4-point cards. And that's all there is to it. It's a pretty simple, quick game that you can play with anybody. You know, it's full of that like bright, fun artwork and stuff like that, so it looks really good on the table, and it's a very small box, so it's one that you can easily bring with you and teach to anybody sort of thing. So if you like Gasha, I also really like that there are themes in board games that I know nothing about, and I'm learning stuff because of I didn't know what that was until I looked it up for this, and now I know. Now I'll never forget. So thanks, board games, for teaching me stuff. I like that there's themes for different types of stuff out there right now. A lot of stuff is being represented in board game things, and I think that's pretty fun. Awaken Realms, in association with Asmodee, is releasing ISS Vanguard to retail this month. So this is one of those games that had a very big, crowdfunding campaign on GameFound, I believe, and now it's having its retail release. So if you didn't get a chance to back it before, go check it out right now. So Awaken Realms is known for their story-driven games, their miniatures, that sort of stuff. And this is no different. Lots of great miniatures in the game. If you want some tight miniatures, this is a good one to check out. It is a 1 to 4 player cooperative campaign board game. And it's definitely one of those games where storytelling is at its forefront. Yes, there are cool mechanisms and stuff like that, but it's definitely a story-first game. You're going to want to play this because you're interested in the story, not just because you like the mechanisms. That's what's going to set this apart. It is a space theme. I love a good space theme game. And so you are both managing your ship in the game, and you're also landing on planets to discover stuff, to answer big philosophical questions, that sort of stuff. There's 100 different crew members, each with unique characteristics. So if you're looking for a storytelling space game, check out ISS Vanguard. Asmodee, in association with Simon, is releasing Scooby-Doo, the board game. This is another family weight game. They say it plays ages 10 plus and plays in 30 minutes. And from what I've heard about it, it really does the Scooby-Doo IP justice. So if you are a fan of Scooby-Doo, this is definitely a game to check out. You get to play as all of the Scooby-Doo characters, you know, Scooby-Doo, Fred, Velma, Daphne, everybody. And each of the characters has asymmetric abilities. So if you want to introduce new gamers to, special character abilities, or if you want to introduce kids to that idea of asymmetric characters, this is a good starting point into that sort of asymmetric character genre. In the game, you are moving around the board and setting traps for bad guys. If you can capture the bad guys, you win the game. It is a cooperative game in that way. So yeah, it also has 3 different levels of difficulty, so it scales well depending on who you're playing with. You can have an easy game, if you're playing with kids, you have a harder game if you're playing with gamers, that sort of stuff. So that's Scooby-Doo, the board game. Asmodee, in association with Ludonova, is releasing Sabika. This is a heavier Euro type of game. I suppose some might describe it as medium heavy. It's definitely not the heaviest game out there, but it is one of those beige Euros out there. So if that's your jam, then this is a pretty good one. One of the things I like about this game, one of the things that makes it feel different, is there are 3 rondels within each other, and you're going to have workers, and you have different types of workers, and they can do stuff on the different rondels. You've got poets, and they're confined to one track. You've got people that are, the people that are doing the construction, that sort of stuff. So it's really interesting of like, which worker do I want to move around the wheel this turn to get the actions and the abilities and the benefits that I need. And so, rondels are definitely making a comeback right now. Thematically, you are playing as one of the nobles who contributed to the construction of the Alhambra. But it's really, it's the mechanisms that set this apart with those 3 integrated and interrelated rondels that have different types of worker meeples that can use them. So that's why you want to check this out. Blue Orange Games is releasing to retail Wonderwoods. This is a light deduction game, almost like a filler deduction game, with a fun theme about trying to figure out where you can find mushrooms in the forest. You're foraging for mushrooms, and for a light, 15-minute deduction game, it has some pretty cool pieces in it. There are these wooden mushroom pieces in it and stuff, so that feels, it kind of maybe makes it feel like a bigger game than it actually is, but really it is just a very light deduction game where you are trying to identify the best mushroom patches in the woods. This is another one. I'm learning about it. You're going to pick morels, boletas, parasols, garoles. I don't know what any of those are. They're all mushrooms. I learned that right now. I know the white mushrooms in the grocery store. That's what are the, I don't know, what are those called? I call them white mushrooms. I also know truffles because I live in Los Angeles and everybody wants to put truffle oil on fries and everything, and it's pretty good, but it's overwhelming. It's a very strong flavor, and it's everywhere in Los Angeles. So I learned about these different type of mushrooms because of Wonderwoods here. So if you're looking for like a filler deduction game, check that out. Capstone Games is releasing Beer and Bread to retail. One of the things I should note is that this is North American retail releases because I live in North America and that's what I'm mostly interested in myself. So Beer and Bread is a game that came out in Europe several months ago. I believe it had an Essen release, and now Capstone Games is bringing it to North America. So this is your opportunity to get it here. This is a 2-player only game where you're playing as 2 different villages and you're facing off in the tradition of brewing beer and baking bread. So beer and bread, solid combination that I love. I love me some, give me some Dutch crunch and a nut brown and I'm on board. I'm having a great time. Is this Oktoberfest? No, you can play it anytime you want. One of the things that, is cool about Beer and Bread is every card is a multi-use card. So they have 3 different sort of areas on the card, and they all can do different things. So when you play a card, you're deciding which of the actions to activate and which of the things to do. And all of the cards in the game have that sort of stuff. Like I said, it is a 2-player only game, but it's not like a combat game, right? You're not like messing each other up. You're just both trying to produce the most stuff and build the most efficient village. And so I'm not really screwing over the person I'm playing with. I'm just trying to outwit them in my production. So, that's nice to have that. And, the components and the art and stuff like that for a smaller 2-player game looks pretty good. CGE, or Czech Games Edition, for those of you that don't speak acronym, are releasing 2 games to retail this month. So these are both games that had their debuts at some conventions over the fall. They were being sold at BGG Con and PAX Unplugged and that sort of stuff. But now they're actually having their retail release. And the first of those I'll bring up is Deal with the Devil. So this is a game from everybody that I've talked to about it. I haven't played it myself, but it is a game that is a heavy lift, right? There is a big learning curve, and it is 4 players only. So you cannot play it with less than 4 players. So that's what I mean, where it's both a heavy lift in the, getting people together and in the learning of the game. But if you do put in the time, if you get the group together and you put in the time to learn it, it is a very unique and rewarding experience. It's a lot to wrap your head around, but if you do, it's going to be a great game for you. It is a sort of, there's multiple phases, but there's some hidden roles, there's trading and negotiation and all that sort of stuff. So the hidden roles are 2 players in a 4-player game play as mortals. One plays as a cultist and one plays as the devil. And they are very asymmetric characters, and you will be offering stuff in a closed booklet. You are going to be offering pieces of your soul or other things, and people can either accept your offer or pass on it and try to get something from somebody else. But one of the interesting things is, because it's the hidden roles, you don't know who you're passing stuff to. You don't know who you're making a deal with. And in fact, it is you need an app to play the game, and the app is going to tell you who to offer your deal to at first. It's saying offer it to the yellow player, but you don't know what the role of the yellow player is. So, again, a really unique sort of trading, figuring out who is who. Definitely in the world of hidden role games, it is one of the heaviest ones out there. It's definitely got a lot more going on than most. Not a hidden role party game, definitely a hidden role strategy game. The other game that CGE is releasing to retail this month is Starship Captains. And this is one I have had a chance to play a bunch. And in fact, I put it as my number 2 game of 2022. When I released my top games of the year, this was my number 2. I love it so much. It is essentially Star Trek, the board game. You are flying around space. You are, doing different missions. You're recruiting different people. It's really fun space-themed game it's a medium weight game, so it's not crazy hard to wrap your head around, but there's a lot of avenues to victory. You want to get cards that upgrade your ship, and you need cards that combo well together, so they get you special benefits along the way. It also has this really novel system of worker placement, where you are going to be putting workers into a queue and then sliding them forward into your ready room, but 3 of them get left behind in your queue. And so the order in which you use your meeples matters, because the last one you use on a round, you're not going to see the next round. And different colored meeples can do different things for you. Yellow meeples can fight space pirates, and red meeples can fly you around the board, and blue meeples can get you technology upgrades. And so you definitely want to be thinking ahead and planning future turns in the game. And they do a really good job making it feel like Star Trek without calling it Star Trek. So, it's super fun. That is Starship Captains. All right, Chip Theory Games is releasing to retail this month Hoplomachus Victorum. This is a solo-only game, and it is all about combat. You are building up your gladiators and fighting the game that is putting out other people out there. And, as with anything Chip Theory does, the production value is insane. Like, it just looks so crazy good, and it's not, it's not just like little wooden tokens. They are these dope, really nice chips, like poker chips, but with, custom art printed on them and stuff like that. So if you're looking for a solo campaign game, this is one that is going to give you so much to play through. You'll be able to play this for a long time. And the combat system, I had a chance to check it out, and the combat system is like really fun and intuitive. It's not crazy hard to wrap your head around. So, it just moves where you're like fight, 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 and then set up the next scenario or move to the next place on the board and that sort of stuff. As with any solo game, I'm sure you could play it, 2 players as well, cooperatively. You're just going to be controlling the same thing and making decisions together. So yeah, it's a rewarding adventure with deep strategic decisions and exciting combat. Daily Magic Games is releasing multiple games to retail this month, all set in their same world of Valeria. So if you don't know much about Daily Magic Games, they do a lot of games set in this same world. There's a real world building to it, but all the games play differently. They've got different mechanisms. They do different things. What ties them together is the artwork and the characters that are in it. The symbology that are used in a lot of their games is the same, that sort of stuff. But you don't have to have played any of the other ones to play a new one. That sort of stuff. They are all standalone games, with the exception of, there's some expansions thrown in there, but most of them are standalone games. And I think they're underrated games. When I've played the Valeria games, Quests of Valeria or Quest for Valeria, super great little box engine building game that's really fun, an engine building card game that I really like and I feel like not enough people know about. And so the 2 games that they're releasing Dice Kingdoms of Valeria. So this is a roll and write game set in the Valeria world, and you are rolling 6 dice, and 2 of the dice everybody gets to activate. And then the other 4 dice are colored dice, and they're going to do different things for you, and you have to choose which ones you want to do, The red die is going to help you slay monsters. The yellow die is going to help you fill up your treasury. The green die is going to let you build roads and domains that give you citizens. The blue die is going to give you magic. So all of these different things are going to do different stuff on your board when you're crossing off stuff, just like a typical roll and write. You're rolling dice, crossing off stuff. But what do you choose to activate? And that's gonna give you different benefits, and that's what makes the game here. Daily Magic Games is also releasing Siege of Valeria. This is a solo-only game where you are essentially fighting against. It's a tower defense game, so there are monsters and characters and siege engines and stuff like that are all coming at your walls, and you have to defeat them before they take you out and overwhelm you. So if you like, tower defense games on your phone and things like that, there's a lot of tower defense games there. This is a fun physical version of that. It plays in 30 to 45 minutes, so it's not crazy long or complex or anything. Definitely like a light, medium weight game, I would say it. And so, yeah, if you want to fight monsters and defend your castle and do it alone, this is a fun one. And it's got, great art in it and all that sort of stuff. So, Devere Games is releasing to retail this month Mille Fiore. This is another one that came out in Europe a while ago, but is having its North American retail release. And it is all about comboing stuff together and getting cascading bonuses and benefits that score you more and more points. It was designed by Reiner Knizia, famous designer, and this is a point salad of a game. Every turn you do, you're going to be getting points. Sometimes you might get 1 point, sometimes you might get 30 points. So it's just trying to you are getting cards. Those cards are going to represent spots. There are 6 different regions on the board, and all of the regions are going to get you different benefits and score you points in different ways. And so you're just trying to figure out what spots do you want to put stuff out to get more points, to get more points, to get even more points. So I love cascading combo effect games, and this is definitely one of those. I have heard that it's a 2 to 4 player game, but I've heard that it is much better at 3 and 4 players than it is at 2. Because part of it is, if you're playing 2 players, there's all these different regions. Well, you can kind of be doing your own thing, and nobody's challenging for supremacy in a region. You play at 3 or 4 players, there's much more competition for those bonuses and benefits and that sort of stuff. Makes it a little tighter and a little more fun. But yeah, it looks really good on the table. Everybody has these translucent colored tokens that they're placing out, and so at the end of the game, the board just looks really pretty, as you're building it up out there. Eagle Gryphon Games is releasing Weather Machine. So this is only available through their website right now. You can buy Weather Machine on their website. It will have its friendly local game store release in February or March, something like that. But it is available right now through their website. Most of the time in this video, to me, retail means basically any way that you can go out and get it fairly easily and immediately. And a lot of times that is friendly local game stores, but sometimes it's just online or through third-party markets or that sort of stuff. So this is available through their website. So Weather Machine is the heaviest game in this video this month. It is for sure, this is not a medium heavy game or anything like that. This is a heavyweight game. So if you are somebody that likes heavy Euros, this is one to check out. It is a Lacerda designed game, and to anybody that knows Lacerda, everything that they do is pretty heavyweight and complex. So the theme of this game is pretty cool, though. You are leveraging research and lab experience to create this weather machine that's going to help you combat the extreme weather facing the world. So, feels a little close to home right now. Definitely facing extreme weather right now. As I mentioned, I live in Los Angeles, and we have been flooded. I have never seen this much rain in all of the years that I have lived in Los Angeles. So, in this, you're scientists trying to, fix the weather machine and predict weather. And, there's a lot going on, right? There are a ton of different ways. It involves a lot of worker placement, but there's a lot more going on than just worker placement. There's tile placement and set collection and action points and all this different stuff. So if you are in the market for a heavyweight Euro game, check out Weather Machine. All right, next up, Sorry We Are French, in association with Hachette Board Games, is releasing Galileo Project. I love the look of this one, and I love, another space-themed game. There's a lot of space-themed games because it's fun, and I really like them, and I like checking out. So this is set in the same universe as a game that was released several years ago called Ganymede. Ganymede? But this is a standalone game. You don't have to have known Ganymede or have played it to enjoy this game. Galileo Project is all about, combos and engine building. So I love engine building games. That's one of the things that has excited me about Galileo Project. You are battling over the 4 moons of Jupiter by acquiring robots and recruiting different experts. So one of the interesting things is there are 2 different tracks, and there's experts on one and robots on the other. So you are deciding which track to go down to recruit different types of stuff. And then it's a lot about, going up on your moon tracks. You have those 4 moon tracks, and the higher you get up on different moon tracks, the more benefits and stuff you're going to get. But you can't do everything, right? So which moons are you going to focus on? Sometimes you can move a robot around, and that's going to make you go down on one moon, but up on another moon. And so it's all about trying to figure out the best strategy for moving up these different moon tracks and building your engine that way. So yeah, it's a medium weight game for sure. 2 to 4 players, plays in 40 to 80 minutes. So yeah, if I love the look of it, and I love that engine building aspect. And it's also interesting. You can give up spots on one track to then go up on another track. You don't see a lot of games that do that. Scorpion Masqué, in association with Hachette Board Games, is releasing Flashback Zombie Kidz. So this is a family game. You can play with kids as young as 6 years old. And in the game, it's a zombie game, but it's not scary at all, anything like that. Like, the artwork is very just vibrant and fun, and but it is a sort of it's an investigation game. You are trying to solve a puzzle. That puzzle might be just like, how did the zombies get into this place? And you are playing cards that have artwork from different characters' perspectives. So, you might play a card and then it shows a number, and there's a little girl over there. And then if you play that card that was her number, you see what she sees and sees it from her perspective. So you're trying to figure out the answer to the puzzle by playing these different artwork cards. And, it's really good for kids. It's one of those ones, like, as an adult, it's probably pretty easy, but you can play it with your kid and prompt them along. Oh, what, did you notice anything over there? That sort of stuff. And they're going to feel really, excited and satisfied when they figure it out. So, probably not one that adults want to play on their own, but if you're looking for a family game you can play with your kids, Flashback Zombie Kidz. Yeah, the name Kidz is in the title. Maybe that's a real indication that it's made for kids. Scorpion Masqué, in association with Hachette Board Games, is also releasing the trivia party game 0 to 100. So this is I like the tagline for it. It's the general knowledge game for the generally unknowledgeable. This is not a trivia game that asks you to answer a specific question or anything like that. Instead, a number will come up and you are picking one of your cards that you think is closest to that number. So like if the number is 38, then your cards might be, what percent of the day do koalas sleep? How many times do they say Macarena in the song Macarena? And so you're like, okay, which one of these is going to get me closest to 38? Do I think koalas sleep 38% of the day? No, I think they probably sleep way more than that. I'm betting on like 70% of the day. So I'm not going to play that one. What else can I use to get me closest to 38? So, I love trivia games, but this is a trivia game that you're not going to feel dumb or whatever. You don't have to know a bunch to play it. You're just trying to get closest to the number. And I'm glad that there are some trivia games out there for people that aren't, the most trivia savvy people. Horrible Guild, in association with Flat River Group, is releasing The Great Split. This is a game that is purely based on mechanism. There's not much theme here. You're not going to play this game for the theme. You're going to play it because you really like the I split, you choose mechanism. So you're going to get a number of cards. You're going to split them and divide them and then pass it to the next player, and then that player can pick which set of those cards they want, and then you get the other ones. So maybe there's a card you really want and you are trying to sweeten the other stack of cards so that they take the other one and give you back the card that you really want. I really like the I split you choose mechanism. It makes for interesting, tough choices that, aren't that hard to wrap your head around. They're tough choices, but they're not like overly complex choices or anything like that. So I really like the mechanism for that reason. Also of note in this game, it plays up to 7 players. So most games that get those 6, 7 player counts are going to be party-ish games. This is a strategy game. This is not a party game. So if you're looking for a strategy game that plays a higher player count, this seems like a good one for that. And then once you get the cards back, it's mostly just going up on different tracks and getting different benefits. Like I said, not much theme. It's just, I'm going to move up this track because I want this benefit, and you're trying to combo your benefits together. So that is The Great Split. Last Night Games is releasing The Finest Fish. This is another family weight game. Plays as young as 8 years old, and 2 to 4 player game that plays in 30 to 60 minutes. It is a drafting game and a tableau building game, but it feels very fun, partly because of the components. When you are drafting, you're drafting fish scales. So they are literally little wooden pieces, fish scales, so it has this fun three-dimensionality to it. And then you are putting them on your goldfish board, and you are building scales. And so that's why I say it's tableau building, because you are putting scales on there in different ways that are going to score you pattern cards. This one pattern card is going to be like, you need these 3 scales next to each other, or you need, these 3 patterns next to each other, or you need different patterns next to each other. And so you can draft and then place your scales to try to score those pattern cards. So, it's just, this is definitely one that looks great on the table. It's got fun components, and it's a, lighter weight drafting game, not crazy hard to wrap your head around, so that's why you can play it with families, but just looks really cool on the table, and that makes me excited about it. Lookout Games, in association with Asmodee, is releasing Atiwa. The way I say that, Atiwa? I feel like the way I say it, Ottawa, that sounds like I'm talking about the capital of Canada. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about bats, dog. This is a game about bats. And bats are a creature that have gotten a real bad rap, Just because they got associated with vampires and stuff like that, everybody's afraid of bats, but they're mostly very docile, nice creatures, You can have a bat land on your head and become friends with it. So this Atiwa is a medium weight Euro game designed by Uwe Rosenberg, and it is the next in his line of farming games. And so at its core, you are playing as villagers farming, but you're trying to get bats to your location, because bats are really great for spreading seeds around and helping you fertilize the ground and that sort of stuff. So, bats are good in this game. And, it's also highly about conservation and that sort of stuff. You want to balance the needs of the community and nature. And one of the things they talked about it is, fruit bats and things like that were hunted and scorned and over predated. And so, also we've cut down a lot of the forest and that sort of stuff. So this is a lot about finding balance in your community and in the world that you are doing, and creating a symbiotic relationship between the bats and the farmers. So, interesting theme in that way. And a medium weight Euro game. Lucky Duck Games is releasing Oros to retail. This is another medium weight strategy game. 1 to 4 players, plays in 60 to 120 minutes. It's a real puzzle of a game. So this is one I have had a chance to check out. And you are moving tiles around on the board, but if you can push 2 tiles together, you're going to build a bigger tile. A 2 and a 2 tile become a 4 tile, and that gives you different benefits and stuff. But it is very, very puzzly. And then one of the other cool things, it's not just about the tile movement around the board. It's also about upgrading your abilities as characters. So there are these little caps on your research knowledge, and so you can push up the caps, and there are columns, and each of the columns is going to get you different special abilities. And so if you move the cap up, then you can move one tile, but maybe later you can move 3 tiles or that sort of stuff. Move 3 spaces, I should say, rather than 1 space. But then if you can move all of your caps for all of the columns up, it's going to get you a cool special ability as well. So you're trying to really balance that. Like, do I want to go up 1 column? Do I want to go up? I can go up 1 column a bunch of spots, or I can go up all of the columns just 1 spot, and trying to balance that. So if you like puzzly games, this is definitely a puzzly tile movement game. Asmodee is, in association with Matago, is releasing Bad Company to retail, and I'm real excited about that. You can maybe see I got Bad Company right on my shelf down here, and this is a game that came out a while ago in Europe, but it's never had a North American release. So if you wanted to get it, you had to get it from Europe, and I was very nice enough to have a friend gift me a game. So shout out to Campbell. Thank you very much for gifting me this game. But it's a really fun game that has deserved a North American release, but just hasn't had one. This is a game that made a lot of top 10 games of the year in 2021. It's a super fun dice rolling game where you are building up your team to do heists. You're essentially building up your heist gang, but you're doing it the same way that Space Base does it, where you are rolling dice and then activating different people in your gang based on the dice results, and then you can get cards that upgrade your gang members. And one of the things that's funny about that is the artwork is you're literally putting cards on top of cards, and then your guy just grows. Your guy or gal just grows and grows, and so they have a comically large torso section. And it's a real fast and fun game. It plays in 30 minutes you can play it in, and so it's just dice rolling. Great theme with the heist stuff in there. So if you've wanted Bad Company for a while, because it's been talked about for a couple of years now, it's finally having its retail release. So I'm just excited for more people to get to play that game, because it is deserving of more people playing it for sure. Matago is also releasing, in association with Asmodee, Pan's Island to retail. So this is a lighter weight game about Peter Pan and his friends, and you have to team up to find the lost children in Neverland. Hook has stolen a bunch of the lost children, and you are going to play as Tinkerbell and Peter Pan and Wendy and some of the characters you love. And it is a cooperative game where you are moving around the island trying to find the lost children. One of the interesting things about the game is it is a dry, the board, the main board, the map that you are moving around also is a dry erase board. So you can draw lines to try to find different children. You are moving around, and I haven't seen that too much where you can literally draw on the shared map board that everybody is using. So that, gives it a fun, different feel. And I also love the theme. I mean, Peter Pan was something I loved growing up. Interesting story. My sister's name is Wendy, and did you know that the name Wendy didn't exist before Peter Pan? The author made up the name for the book because it was based on the way their niece said a specific word, and they couldn't really say it, and it sounded like Wendy, and the author liked the sound of the name and named the character Wendy. So my then sister is named Wendy because of Peter Pan. So in the game, you're playing different clues and that. So you're playing clue cards and trying to find the lost children and avoid the pirates. If you run into pirates, that's one of the lose conditions. If you hit enough pirates, you're going to lose the game. So can you find 4 lost children before you run into 5 different pirates? Oh, fun cooperative game. Pan's Island. Plaid Hat Games is releasing to retail Hickory Dickory. And this was a game I put on my most anticipated games of 2023. It's one I got a chance to check out at PAX Unplugged, and the production value is insane, and it just does worker placement in a really interesting new way that I haven't seen before. Your workers are riding the hands of a clock around the board, and you can jump off at different spots to get different special abilities and collect different things that you need to score points. And I haven't seen that before, where it's like a workers riding the hands of a clock, and it just looks super cool on a table. And one of the interesting things is you'll also have some workers that are off the table that can jump back on to the hand of the clock, but they jump off at the back and push whoever was at the front off of the board, off of the hand, the hand. And so, you know, then there becomes that idea of like, oh, man, I really want to wait to the 5 hour to jump off and take that special ability, but I'm at the front of the line, and do I want to get kicked off at 4? Should I just jump off at 3 because I want that special ability? Like, that's maybe my second most one. Do I push my luck and try to get to 5, or do I do it? You know, I love that idea of it. It's 1 to 4 players, plays in 60 to 120 minutes. And also, I'm just really excited that like one of my most anticipated games of the year is coming out right at the beginning. I'm jumping on board with what I'm excited about right away. You know, comes out at the end of January. Resonim is releasing Retrograde. This is a real-time roll and write game that harkens back to the arcade games of the 80s. You know, things like Asteroids and stuff like that. So if you were a fan of old arcade games, this definitely nails the look and the feel of those old arcade games. You are, there are aliens invading Earth, and you got a ship, and you are rolling around and shooting these different aliens and trying to, try to survive as long as you can and get the high score by shooting down a bunch of these aliens. The artwork looks really cool. You know, you can get power-ups for your characters and that sort of stuff. So plays 1 to 4 players in 25 to 35 minutes. That is Retrograde. Rio Grande Games is releasing 2 games to retail this month. One is Crossing Oceans. So this sort of re-implements an older game they had called Transatlantic, but it's not a new edition. It's a new game. It takes some of the stuff from Transatlantic and changes it around, and hopefully makes it a better game for people. But in the game, you are trying to build yourself a thriving merchant fleet and guide it to economic prosperity. So you're putting steamships out on the board. You are, trying to take over trading posts and build trade routes and that sort of stuff. One of the cool things is it features 50 historic ships. These are real ships from history in the game, and a real map from history. The board is a giant map from this, the turn of the 20th century historical period. So if you like history stuff and you want it in games, Crossing Oceans definitely does that. You can put a ship on the board, take a contract, use contracts to fulfill in different ways, and then there's a rondel that'll get you different actions that you can use. The other one Rio Grande Games is releasing to retail this month is Findorff. This is from well-known designer Friedman Freeze. Plays 1 to 5 players in 55 to 75 minutes. It is a medium weight Euro game. Findorff is one of the 23 districts of Bremen, the hometown of Friedman Freeze. So that's one of the reasons I'm sure he wanted to make this game, because it's based on his hometown. And in the game, you are building up a town, and you are doing it over the period of 1803 to 1916. you're both building the town, and you're building the railroads there. There were six major railway stations during that period in Findorff, and so it's an economic engine builder where you're trying to build up the town, and it's definitely got that same Friedman Freeze look to it. So it's a look that some people love, some people don't love, but you know what you're getting. You definitely know the artwork style and game style with their games. And so that's what I got for you this month. Those are I believe that was 26 of the best games coming to retail this month. There are definitely more games coming to retail this month, so if you're interested in those, you can check out my Patreon. I also have Grant's Game Rex t-shirts for the very first time. This is one of them, got my signature glasses and mustache. So I'll put a link to that in the video description if you want. There's different color options and different stuff like that. So, if you want a Grant's Game Rex t-shirt for the convention season or anything like that, you can do it now. So thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you checking out this game. I hope you found something. I hope you check out this video. I appreciate you checking out. Boy, I've been talking for a long time straight, here. This has been 45 minutes without stopping talking, and now my mouth is mush. And so I'm messing up the words right at the end of the video. I couldn't bring it home. I messed up right at the end. I hope that you found a game that you were excited about in this video. Again, I try to include all different types of stuff, and hopefully there was something that really tickled your fancy here. And so, I do this video every month. Thank you so much for subscribing and sharing it and all that good stuff. I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex. I appreciate you being here.